Welcome to the Bill Cartwright Show with Steve Cohen. Our special guest today is NBA All-Star, NBA champ, 21-year NBA player, Kevin Willis. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bill. Glad to be here, man. Hope all is well. Steve, likewise. How you doing?
You know, Kevin, I've always really admired your work, how hard you play. Big fan of yours, whether you do that or not, whether we're running into each other, but
yes.
Was always glad to see you and always appreciated you.
Yeah,
what I'd really like to know, just for you to talk about where you grew up and talk about your parents.
Well, grew up, Bill, in Detroit, east side of Detroit. As a kid, born in Los Angeles, California, and parents moved to Detroit in the early to late 50s, early 60s. And we moved to Detroit. That was the stomping grounds. That was where everything started for me as a young kid, as a young teenager, as a young man. Started there. We lived on the east side, went to Kettering High School, my ninth grade, northeast side of town, and went to Pershing. And that's where I graduated at and left there in 1980 and went on to Jackson Community College and played a year there before I went over to Michigan State.
And can you talk about when you were in high school, who taught you how to play? Who mentored you in high school?
Well, I didn't start playing, Bill, until I was 16 years old. I was at the first high school, Kettering, and I was on JV. I never forget being on JV, never played a lot. Then I ended up running cross country. And back then, you had to either play football, run cross country in order to obviously play basketball. So I ran cross country, and I found that I could really do this. And it wasn't no pressure. I always enjoyed running. So I ran cross country. And then when I moved to the other side of town, I transferred over to Pershing. And at that time, I really wasn't playing. The coach just saw this guy, the 6'4" guy, 6'5" guy walking around and going to classes and asked, "Hey, you want to play basketball?" And I said, he asked me, "Did I play basketball?" And I said, "Nope." He said, "You want to play?" I said, "Nope, I don't want to play." He says, "Well, you got the height, you got the frame for it. Why don't you come to my class, 7th period, and meet the guys on the team and let's talk about it." So I said, "Okay, cool." So I ended up going there, and the rest is history. William Carter was my coach in high school, and he told me, he said, "Hey, let me see you do some things on the court, and you don't have to worry about your playing time. I'm gonna start you." And I was like, "Start? I'm scared, man." I'm like, "Gonna start me?" And I'm like, "Okay." So he started me. He actually started me, and he said, "Just go out and play." And I tried to do what I could do, and I ended up finding a joy and a liking to the game of basketball. And then from that moment, I stayed on the team. I continued to start. I began to get a little confidence. I think I scored my first 10 points midway through my junior year. And that was the highlight of my high school junior year. But then my senior year came around. I had so much confidence, and I started working like really, really diligently. Every day I would work and train and get in condition and work on my game. And then it went from averaging 4 points my junior year to averaging 24 my senior year. And I just couldn't believe how much I grew in such a short period of time in the game of basketball. But my high school coach was the guy who really, really encouraged me and gave me that confidence that I could play. And the rest is history. I just picked it up, and then I had to go to junior college and played in junior college because I had to get the grades up better. And once I got to junior college, it was almost like starting over because the level of competition was a little stiffer. So, but I did improve. I got better. And then I got the attention of Judd Heathcote and Bill Frieder from Michigan.
Now, is that where you wanted to go? You wanted to end up at Michigan State?
No, my heart was set on Michigan. I really wanted to go to Michigan. My uncles would say, "Hey, go to Michigan State because Magic went there." And I was like, "Yeah, but I like Michigan." But then when Michigan State Judd Heathcote came to watch me play in junior college, so did Bill Frieder. And then after the game was over, they had a pretty good game. And then my coach in junior college asked me, he said, hey, I got some good news and bad news. Which one you want first? I said, give me the bad news first. He says, well, Bill Frieder thinks you're not ready for Big Ten basketball yet. He didn't think you were good enough for Big Ten. I said, okay, what the judge said? He said he felt that if I came to Michigan State, I would be a hell of a basketball player. So I said, okay, cool. I'm going to Michigan State. So I made my decision, and I said, well, I'm going to have to show Bill Frieder that I belong and I can play in the Big Ten basketball. And I surely did. So
talk about your teammates when you got to Michigan State.
Well, at that time, we had a guy by the name of Sam Benson, which Sam Benson, yeah. Scott Skiles,
wow,
Ben Tower, Cleveland Bibbins, Ralph Walker. Well, Ralph wasn't there yet. It was Cleveland Bibbins. Then we had a couple guys like Kevin Smith. He's from Michigan area. He was a starting point guard at State. We had a couple 6'11" guys, Richard Mudd, Tim Gore, guys like that. But then I knew at this particular time, there are going to be guys that are 7 foot, 7'2", 7'3". And so I had to really, really pick up the work ethic. I had to really, really focus on how to play the game of basketball in this physicality of the Big Ten and whatnot. And so after my sophomore year, that's when I started to really, really flourish and pick it up. I led the Big Ten in rebounding, field goal percentage my junior year. But those guys on the team like Skiles and Benson, which were former NBA players, they had good careers, not only in college, but in the pros. And it was just great playing with those guys because they understood what it would take to help a guy like me develop. And they knew I had the talent, and they were right there to help me and help Joe push me and get the best talent out of me.
So now you're done at Michigan State and you're about to get drafted. Did you feel like you were ready?
I felt, Bill, my senior year, because I had a scope done on my knee. I had a torn cartilage my junior year. So running around come the senior year, it healed and it was good. But then I was working out and one of the guys fell on my ankle and I sprained my ankle. So I'd sit out a few games. But my senior year, I thought it could have been better. But I had that ankle injury that was bothersome at times. But I ended up making the best out of it. But what really elevated my stock during the NBA draft combine and going over to Hawaii was I had a great showing in Chicago and I had a great showing in Hawaii. And that just elevated me from, say, low first round to sort of mid first round to upper first round. And it was like, and when I went to Chicago, that's the one where Marty Blake would say the top, at that time, it's the top 10 people would be invited to New York to the draft. And he came up to me after the workouts and he said, hey, I want to invite you to the NBA draft. You're going to be in the top 10. And I was like, wow. And I was beginning to know at that time, it was like, I had a great showing, but I still remain humble and I still remain hungry. I still remain the focus. But it was a good feeling to have him tell me that you're going to be in the top 10. But I end up being the 11th pick instead of the 10th pick.
So talk about your first year at Atlanta, the coach, and talk about your teammates.
Well, in Atlanta, it was almost like a dream come true as well, because I remember in Hawaii, I sat down with Stan Kasten and one of the head assistants, and they did a little interviewing, try to get a feel about who I am, what type of character I have, and things like that. And that was a great showing. And they knew I had the willpower. They knew that I was determined. They knew I had this great work ethic and whatnot. And so while I was in college, though, I used to watch and get Sports Illustrated. And I remember seeing Dominique Wilkins inside. He was on the cover, but then I saw him, all the stuff he was doing on the inside. The photos were amazing. I said, man, I would love to play with this guy, not knowing anything about the Hawks, but it was like, I would love to play with him. And then ended up getting drafted by Atlanta. Now Nick's my teammate. And I was like, a dream come true. And, but Nick, Doc Rivers, Tree Rollins, Eddie Johnson, all those guys, Sly Williams, all these guys, man. It's just incredible guys. But I was a rookie, so they put me through it for a little bit. But it was cool though. It was a learning curve for me. But it was great being a rookie in Atlanta. We were growing, we were young, we were really athletic. We had that energy that a team would need. And all we had to do was build chemistry, begin to understand each other's games, weaknesses and strengths. And we did that, and we started to flourish after the first 4 or 5 years.
Talk about your best year, 1 year. I know it's hard in Atlanta.
I think the best year for me was my second year. Well, my rookie, I made all rookie team, second team, but then in 10, my second year would really start to elevate because my work ethic was unmatched, and I just felt I was beginning again humbled, but my confidence was building. But when you have other superstars on the team, you got to sort of on the team. But my thing was, it was a great experience, but it really started to come all together for me when Willis Reed became assistant coach. He got in my ear, man. He was giving me stuff, man, that I've never heard before. He took that, Bill, I was that guy who wanted to be physical, the enforcer on the team and all that, which is great. I had to battle guys like yourself or Oakley and all these big guys in the league. And I had to sort of try to protect Dominique. And so I had to reverse that. Willis Reed say, man, listen, the physicality is great. You're going to always be strong, but it's the mental side of the game I want you to start focusing on. And when I started doing that, my whole game just changed. That following year after that, I made the All-Star game in 1992. I was averaging about 19 a game and 15 and a half rebounds a game. And from that point on, for the next 5 or 6 years, those numbers just increased tremendously.
What were some of the things that you did mentally, to really help you increase your productivity?
Well, the main thing was just to understand that if you want to leave a footprint in this game, you want to make a name for yourself, it's all mental. It was mental. The physical part, that was great, needed, do it when you need it. But focusing on certain offensive moves, knowing that if you're athletic as I was, I could get up and down the court, I could jump, I could rebound. So you start putting these things together and tell myself, every game I need to get at least 4 rebounds a quarter. And you focus on that, whether it's offensive end, defensive end, just knowing how to position myself on the court, around the basket, the flight of the ball, where it's going to hit at. Focus on those things. Create a move that I felt that no one in the league could stop. And Willis Reed was responsible for that by saying you need to develop the jump hook, not like Kareem, the sky hook. You need a jump hook. And so when he kind of introduced that to me, I worked on that like nobody's business. And I said, no one's going to be able to stop it. The only person who can stop it is myself. And I don't care if you're 7'7" Manu Bowl. I don't care who you are. You're not going to stop this shot. And I perfected it to the point where I was so confident in it. It was almost like magical. And once I did that, they would try to double team. Yeah, I'm going to read the double teams, but if it's one-on-one, it's going to be very difficult to stop me. And it became my weapon. And then I developed another move, was the spin move that Hakeem Olajuwon used to do a lot, but he did it 10 times better. And I would do that and loosen myself up again to get my jump hook off. So it was just a lot of mental part of the game that I had to mature, understand, study the game more, and things started to happen for me.
Okay, so now you were really successful in Atlanta. Talk about leaving Atlanta and going to Miami. What was the difference there?
Well, after Bill, when you been in a team with a team for 10 years, it's like, what? But when they traded Dominique the year prior, because I always said, if one of us are going to be traded one day, it's going to be me before Dominique. And it didn't happen like that. Neek got traded. And then I was like, wow, that was a shocker. And then the following year, they traded me. Going over to Miami, it was like, well, I'm not going to a cold city, so that's cool. But Miami was young, Glenn Rice and Bimbo Coles and all these guys, Liddell Echols and Sally and all John Sally and all those guys. They were young. And I knew Miami was going to be more of a challenge. And Miami's Miami. And these young guys, all they want to do is get the South beat. And so my thing was try to bring some leadership, come in, try to get some guys to get disciplined and focused. And it happened at times. But it was a fun pit stop, I would call it. It was a fun pit stop for me. But it was just part of my career that I look at and say, you know what? It was a great time in Miami. I enjoyed being there. But this is not where I need to look at winning championship, trying to win a championship. But it was a great place for me for a moment.
Okay, well, your next stop was Golden State. Tell me about Golden State. Tell me about the coaches, some of the players there.
Golden State was good. I mean, we actually Bimbo Coles and may he rest in peace, my buddy and dear friend Jerome Kersey. A couple other guys were there. Joe Smith was there. Spreewell was there. So all the guys, they had the talent, but again, another young team. Coach was Rick Alderman was the coach, and great coach. And we had some talent, but we just couldn't go over the top. It was a short stop because I got traded in February, and I was out of there we didn't get to the playoffs. So I was out in about 2.5 months. I was out and wanted to be out because, again, it's one of those situations that you get caught up in. And then the next stop from there was Houston. And that's where it really started to come together in Houston.
Well, who was coaching in Houston? And talk about some of the guys.
Rudy T, man. Rudy T, one of the best.
T.
Yeah, man. Yes, sir. Rudy T. And I think they traded about 4 or 5 guys out. They brought in Barkley, myself, Eddie Johnson. They had a couple nice draft picks. Not really high, but they had some skill and they had some talent. Dream was there. Clyde was already there. So we had that team where it was at one point it was like going in and hitting the switch. Let's just go in and play. And that was a great time in Houston. Unfortunately, we got close. We was in the Western Conference Finals and got knocked out by the big shot by John Stockton that knocked us out. But just a great organization, great teammates. Dream taught me a lot. Charles taught me a lot. I was a reserve then. I come off the bench for Dream or Charles. And it was, these future Hall of Famers. My ego was never a part of my game. It was all about what can I do to make this team better. But when Charles went down or King went down, Rudy had enough confidence in me to throw me right in the starting lineup because I've been starting my whole career basically. And I put those numbers up, man. It was at one point where I was putting them up so nicely that he didn't know if he wanted to put Charles back in there. I said, no, man, put Charles back in starting lineup. It's good. I don't want you to get all confused. I don't want you to have to sweat this, but go ahead and do it, man. We just got to win, bottom line. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But great time in Houston. Love Houston.
So after you leave Houston, you end up in Toronto.
Went to TO, man, and Toronto was a gem. I mean, it was wonderful. Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, Charles Oakley, Antonio Davis, Dale Curry, Dale Curry and Muggsy and Doug Christie. And I mean, we had Alvin Williams. We had a great bunch of guys. And that was fun. It was an experience being in Canada, learning those laws and things you can do in Canada, which you can't do in Canada. Butch Carter was the head coach. And we had a great team. We had some great runs, but just came up short. But great 2 years in there. And my dear friend, the owner is Larry Tannenbaum. He's a wonderful owner and he just did a great job with ownership and building that team and bringing in the right people to help us be successful in the long run.
Did I read this right? You ended up with 3 teams in 1 year: Denver, Milwaukee, and back to the Rockets.
No, when I was with Denver for a short period of time, I was with Denver. Then I went back to Denver during training camp. And then Houston and Milwaukee were calling. And I told, I think I told the GM, Kiki, I think Kiki Vanderbilt or Dan Izzo was the GM or somebody. And I said, listen, guys, listen, I don't want to go to Milwaukee. I do not want to go to Milwaukee. And they said, well, this must be a lucky day because Milwaukee is going to take 2 other players and you're going to Houston. And I had been in Houston a year or 2 before that. And I went going back to Houston. So I was like, yeah, that's cool, man. Where's my airline ticket? Let's go back to H-Town. So it was good. It was good.
Now, who was the coach back then when you came back?
Who? No, Rudy was still coach. Rudy was
Still there.
Yeah, Rudy was still there. Yeah, Rudy was still there. Yeah, he sure did. Rudy was right there, man. So it was like, I know my surroundings, I know the system, I know the whole thing, man. So I'm just right back in the flow again, just different personnel.
So right after that, you went right down the road to San Antonio.
Well, yeah, when I left Houston, who was it? I think it was the GM at that time was Carol Dawson. Carol Dawson was the GM there. And Carol calls me up here in Atlanta, I'm at home. He says, Kevin, hey, I got a call from San Antonio Spurs, and they wanted to know about you and whatnot. And I told them everything about you, nothing but amazing stuff to say about you. And they want you to come and play with them. And I said, really? I said, okay. I said, wow. Okay, David Robinson's there, Tim Duncan's there, Mono Ginobili, he was just a rookie, and Tony Parker was a rookie. I heard about him, but I know David and Tim was there. And I said, yeah. And so next thing I know, they sent their personnel to Atlanta, and Pop called me on the phone. I talked to Pop for about 15 minutes, and he was delighted. I was overwhelmed. I was like, man, this is amazing. I love to play for you guys. And then so when they sent their personnel to my home here in Atlanta, they were bringing the contracts and everything. And I said, if you got, I'm honored to sign this contract, but I need to know if you got one thing in order for me to sign this contract. Do you got number 42? And he said, let me check. He called, 42 was available. Signed, sealed, and delivered, Bill. I was gone. Yep. So my time in San Antonio was the absolute pinnacle of my career. No doubt about it. Best time.
Who were some of the guys on the team?
We had Steve Smith, Steven Jackson, Steve Kerr, Tony Parker, Mono Ginobili, David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Speedy Claxton. We had Danny Ferry. We had who else on that squad? Bater. We had I may be missing one other person, but we had that squad, man. We had the mix, the right mix, and we were able to do it the first year I got there. And we were able to bring home that chip, and we got it. So I know how you feel.
Yeah, it is a very good feeling once that gets
yeah,
done.
Man. Yeah.
So after you left there, you went back to the Hawks.
Well, I went back. I had a 2-year deal with the Spurs, and then I went back to the Hawks. So that's definitely full circle. And that was year number 20 at that time. No, 21. That was year 21. And then I ended up playing with the Hawks, I think, on 8 games that year. Oh, nightmare. nightmare. But came full circle. I was able to see my son play his senior year in high school. So that's why I left at San Antonio to come and so I can see him play his last year.
Is this right? You ended up your last year when you were in Dallas?
I was in Dallas. Yes, that took basically the whole career spans 23 years from 84 to 207. But then when I left Atlanta, Bill, I sat out 2 years and I just said, I'm a focus on my business. And eventually I'll play again. And I'm actually out in Las Vegas for the apparel industry show that's always in Vegas. I'm out there in February. NBA All-Star game is in Vegas that year. And my buddy and I are out there hanging out, doing our business. And we're getting ready to walk out of the Bellagio to get in the car to go through the convention hall over there to go to the show. And he leaves his phone. So he says, hold up, man, I got to go back to the room, get my phone. So I'm waiting in the lobby. Then when I see him coming, I start heading for the door. And as soon as I go through the revolving door, there's Mark Cuban. I run smack into Mark Cuban. He says, Kevin, how you doing, man? I said, I'm doing good. Mark, how you doing, man? He said, where you been? I said, man, I just been in Atlanta. He said, how's the clothing business? It's going good, man. That's why I'm out here. It just happened to be All-Star weekend at the same time. And he says, you want to play? He said, I said, when? He said, I need somebody to come and play for me because one of our bigs went down for the rest of the year. And I need you to come and play. I said, are you serious? He said, yeah. He says, how long you been out? I said, this is my second year out. He says, well, you in shape? I said, I'm in shape, but I'm not in basketball shape yet. He said, how long it take you to get in shape? I said, I need about 2 weeks. Give me 2 weeks, I'll be in shape. So he was serious. By the time I got home, before I left Vegas, I get a call from Orlando Black. He says, hey, Kev, how you doing, man? I talked to Mark. He wants to bring you into Dallas for a workout. I said, in Avery Johnson. I said, okay, cool. I said, when? He said, I'm going to get back with you. And so by the time I get back from Vegas on that Sunday, I left on Monday morning. I landed back in Atlanta around, I think 5 o'clock in the evening, 6 o'clock in the evening, went home, changed clothes and started training. So I started training and just waiting for that call. So about 6 days later, I get a call from Orlando Black. He says, man, on Thursday of this week, we want you to come to Dallas. I said, okay, I'll be there. And so I ended up training 3 times a day for 6 days, morning, afternoon, and night. Flew to Dallas. Avery's there, Popeye Jones, the guys in the gym. And they say, okay, Cat, here's what we want to do. Boom, 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 boom. And so we're going up and down, just Popeye Jones and I going up and down, layups and dunks, and they want to see the conditioning. And by the time I got finished with Popeye Jones, he had to go lay on the wall. He had to go sit on the wall. And so Avery Johnson's man, he says, he blows the whistle. He says, that's enough. I've seen enough. And I go sit with him. And he asked me, he says, Kev, he said, man, he says, what are you made out of? I said, man, I don't know, man. This is what I do, man. So he said, how old are you? I said, man, I'm 40. I think I was, at that time, I might have been 44. I was 44. And he said, man, how do you, I said, hey, this is what I do, man. I love this game, man. I love keep myself like this, man. He said, man, go upstairs, take him upstairs, get the physical ready, and sign him on the contract. Next thing I know, that next day I was signed, sealed, and delivered back in the hole again, man. Back in there again. Yeah.
One more
it
time.
was great. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But I think it was more locker room. And then I've had games where I scored 10, 11 points, 6, 7 rebounds. It was cool. I was like, cool. Hey, no big thing. My first game, though, I fouled out I had 4 fouls in about 3 minutes. But it was fun, though, man. It was cool. But once I got my timing, I get my timing down, had to get my rhythm down and all that stuff. and said, you know what, get your mind back around this thing. And once I did that, I was good to go. I actually could have played. If he would have said, come back and play the next season, I would play the next season without no question. Because I would have had the time to really train, the time to really get my mind around it and just get my whole psyche together. I would have been back out there again because my body didn't have no injuries all my whole career but once. So my knees were good, my back was good, no arthritis, no tendonitis, no nothing. It was just, I was strong. So I was like, yeah, if you want me to come back, I'll definitely come back. But everyone me said, if you want to come back, we'll consider it. But if you want to consider, also think about coaching. And I said, okay, cool. But then at the end of it, I was like, nah, that's it. I'm done because I didn't want to coach. So I said, no, I'm done.
So you knew after that year, you didn't want to coach, but interesting enough, when you were in college, see if I read this right. You were a fashion and textile major in college.
Yeah, man. I was like, being like, we 7 foot, man. You can't buy no clothes nowhere. You can't buy nothing. And you want to be and you're young and you want to be cool and fit in. It's like, if I can't buy it, well, I'm gonna study it. And then one day, if I'm ever get in the position to get into this business, I'm gonna do it. And there's 2 reasons why I got into it, Bill. Necessity, because I couldn't buy anything. And I wanted to get into it so I could make it one day for guys like ourselves. But then, at State, man, you got 43,000 students, man, beautiful campus, girls. I said, I'm gonna go into fashion because all the girls in fashion, they all in the classroom. So I'm in there. I'm one guy and probably about 40 females. So I said, I'm good. So that's where I went, man, right to it. I was right there. Yep. So I studied because I understood at a young age that it's a void in the market. And my senior year, I really started taking it serious. And when I turned pro, now that forged me to be able to experiment a little bit, take this passion, see what I can create with it. And all my teammates, all my peers, we all share the same common thread. We can't find nothing to fit. And so I already got a fraternity now of guys who need clothing that fit, selection, choices, options, style. So now I'm doing it now. And it's like, I got all these guys I can eventually be as my customer at some point in time. And I've been doing it now since 1988. My 4th year in the league when I started is because and so that's what really propelled it to really get my focus on it. It's like, if you don't ever play basketball again, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to do what I did in college. And that was fashion and textiles. And I haven't looked back since, still doing it today.
Now, just talk about this. Talk about the progression, where you started, who, I'm pretty sure you had a partner.
Mm-hmm.
And just talk about what it was like to start.
Well, when I started it was passion. My partner, Ralph Walker, we played college ball together. We wanted to, we go out to the club or we hanging out in the restaurants or whatever we're doing. And we went and purchased some leather skins from New York, flew back to Atlanta, and we said, hey, why don't we try to find someone who can make it? And he says, hey, I know a friend that sews leather, and he made us a couple leather jackets. And so when he finished them, that following weekend, we went out to one of the local clubs after a game, and we wore these jackets. And before the night was over, people were like just flocking it, man, this feels good. Where'd you get this made at? And that was just a small indicator that we could possibly be on to something. And we started showing it, introducing it to the players. And then they start seeing these different skins, different styles. They started buying stuff. Oakley was like one of my biggest customers. Karl Malone, one of my biggest customers. Mr. Olympia, He's from Atlanta. I had some good customers. Then all my guys on the Hawks teams were buying stuff. And from that point, it started really, really picking up. And it went from something that I did in college, I was passionate about, but now this could grow into something that could be really, really good. And you can build a real business with this. And once I decided to do it and learn the business, you put the passion on the back burner for a minute and say, you gotta learn this business now. It's not about just looking good and feeling good. You got to learn the business. And so that's what I committed myself to for the last 34 years.
I think that one of the things that obviously marks your career is longevity. And
yes.
Do you think that you're just really unique? I mean, there's people like Tom Brady, there are others, but what advice do you give to other people who want to last as long as you did in professional sports?
Well, I think the thing with my advice would be is that, one, you have to love what you do. You have to love it. You have to be passionate about it, and you have to commit yourself to it. And through my work ethic, that was what I would say was unmatched, because I would train at the thought of someone else training would trigger something in me to say, they may be training and you sitting here thinking about training will push me to go out and train 198 degrees. I'll go out and run at it, because I'm putting the power, the mental strength you need to run in weather like that. When you run, I'm running maybe 7 to 8 miles in that weather, just for my own psyche, just to test myself and put something in me that was, again, no one could take out of me. And so those things I knew guys weren't doing. I see guys or hear guys talk about where they're going on vacation. Well, I'm not going on vacation. I'm not good enough to go on vacation. That was my mindset, even though I know I could, but no, I want to train. I want to get better. And through all of that, my body went through all this, and I knew at the end of the day, between the Lord and my work ethic, I could just play. But that was I think that was a learning curve for me. God wanted me to go and sit down for a minute. Let me show you let me show you the business of the NBA. Allow me to show you what it's like, how people are really like. Let me show you how people are when you're not playing. So I took that as a learning curve. And so when I learned all this stuff and I was taught this, and I believe that it was a purpose for me getting hurt like that, because the next 20 years, well, the next 19 years, I didn't miss a beat. I played for 19 years without an injury. So, I mean, and I knew that was a sign. So it was like, hey man, how can I play the 44 years old? How can I play that long? And I could have played another year after that. So I knew it was a reason why I was chosen to do this.
Did you consider playing overseas?
I've had people from Greece. I had people from Italy. I had people from Puerto Rico to try to get me to come there and play later on in my career, 15th seed. Say, nope, I'm not leaving the NBA. Nope, they're gonna put me on the stretch and take me out of here. I'm not leaving. At some point in time, I even said, when I finish playing the NBA, if an offer is still there and I feel like doing it, I will. But right now, not a serious consideration at all.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk about your family?
Oh, family, man. I'm the youngest of 3. My brother, my sister. I'm the youngest. My sister's in the middle. My brother. All from Michigan. All now reside here. My mom was here. My dad's still in Michigan. My mom passed away back in 2017. And so we're here in Atlanta area living. I have my foundation for foster care kids. I have a 210-acre campus that my brother and I built out for foster care kids. And we service these kids. We work with these kids every day. And that's what we've been doing since 2002, actually. Then I got a son and a daughter too. My son is 34. and my daughter's 19, and my daughter, she got accepted to go to FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. And so she's going to her sophomore year. And my son is in Grand Rapids with his family. He's married, got 2 beautiful kids in Michigan. And he played too. He's about 6'7", but he tore his ACL and his meniscus all at one time.
Oof.
So that was a dinger there, man. So, but he's doing good. Really doing really well.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much for being on the show.
Man, anytime, Bill. Anytime.
You are an inspiration. Over
Thanks,
20
man.
years in the NBA, that's doing it the right way, and we love the work ethic. So
yeah, man. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to catching up with you. I need some clothes.
Oh
so
man,
I get you.
I got you, man. I got some stuff, man. I think you're like, man. But shorts, I'm gonna work on those shorts though. But I got some nice pants. You're gonna love them. Really nice.